You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome back to another episode of What's the Tea Bev, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN. I'm your host, Christos. What's the Tea Bev is a podcast where I interview members of the LGBTQIA plus community and our allies. We get to know our guests' Trekdom and discuss current Star Trek news, Trek episodes, and speculate on the future of Star Trek. Remember, you can watch What's the Tea Bev on our YouTube channel of the same name or listen wherever you get your BQN podcasts. Little bit of maintenance here. Please hit like and subscribe here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and give us a star rating and a written review. That helps others to find the show. So once again, listeners and viewers, I apologize. It has been a few months since the last episode. I am a working professional, and this is definitely something I just do when I'm moonlighting for fun, in addition to, of course, being on All Good Things on a regular basis here on the BQN. So What's the Tea Bev turns into this thing that it's like, when I have time, but I enjoy doing it. And I've had some of you hitting me up lately for a new episode, so here we are. I hope to have a few more episodes here as we go into the summer. And so today, I'm pretty excited here. We have a brand new guest, and only somebody I've never actually had a conversation with until today. So that makes the getting to know you of this guest even more fun, because I have no clue about this person, other though I can tease you that there's a little bit of like to Janeway with this person. So I want to introduce our guest tonight. It's Heather Wood. Heather is the founder and CEO of To Proudly Go, Inc., a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to creating safe and supportive spaces that celebrates science fiction, promotes the LGBTQIA plus community, and partners with important community causes to empower and foster a kinder and better world. You can catch Heather and the To Proudly Go crew at 6 p.m. Saturdays at Industry Bar in New York City for weekly Trektastic Drag, 2-for-1 drinks, current Star Trek episode viewings, Star Trek games, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Heather Wood. Heather, how are you?
Oh, hi. Oh, you can't see my hand there, but
there you are. You can...
I am so excited to be here, and I will have to say thank you so much for your patience. I know when we originally tried to book this, then there was like a lot of drama because our show home, Barracuda Lounge, closed, and then I got the flu. So a lot going on my end. So you are a saint for being so patient, and your listeners and your fans that enjoy this podcast, thank you for your patience. So I hope this is worth the wait.
It's definitely worth the wait. And, hey, life is the struggle bus. All the things I was just saying as to why I couldn't even get an episode done, same thing. It's like, hey, life happens and you just got to deal with it. I try not to think too hard about that kind of stuff, because it's like, this is something I do completely for fun. So the minute I start to stress about it, it's not fun anymore. And then why am I doing it, right?
I totally hear you there. I have the same thoughts in my head. So yeah, no, that's a really good attitude. You got to take care of yourself, and you have to do and what you enjoy instead of having it become this crushing task that's not fun. So, but yeah, I love this.
So how long have you been doing the Star Trek related shows?
I got started in 2018 with actually Gaze in Space, and I did that for maybe about a year, and I didn't really have a great experience. So I a couple, like a group of us from Gays in Space decided to start our own thing with Randy Frank, and we made Lambda Quadrant. And I did stuff with that. Yes, this is one of the videos from Las Vegas, which is one of the last things I did with Gays in Space. It was a really great thing to be able to be in Vegas and to perform at Piranha, which is an iconic gay bar in Las Vegas. I had another character I was going to do, which was Janeway, with this new bouffant wig at the time, but I wasn't able to do it. But anyway, I did Crusher. This wig has definitely been replaced.
Well, the only reason I am showing this particular video, and I'm sorry, listeners, you're missing out, is that I took this video. This was the first night I actually became aware of you. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a drag queen doing Beverly Crusher. My world is exploding. And I think I recorded all 6 minutes of your performance.
Oh, wow. I've never even seen this video, but I'll tell like it. Obviously, I have, I think I've improved a little bit since then. I feel like if the listeners can imagine, I kind of look like trailer trash Beverly Crusher. I'm like kind of like a cigarette in one hand and a PBR in the other hand, and I'm like, who needs a doctor? Because that wig is terrible. But I got that wig when I arrived in Vegas. Somebody donated it to me, and I was like, ugh, okay. But
it worked.
It did
totally
my
worked.
best.
You're being way too hard on yourself. That it worked just fine.
I did meet Gates McFadden at Las Vegas when I went, and she was like, "Oh, you look just like me," and I was like, "Oh my God, like just take this fucking picture," because I did not look anything like her. She is gorgeous, and yes. I was definitely felt like, I don't even know, like I felt like a really, really low budget porn version of her, or maybe not even that. But I had a lot of fun.
I mean, it kind of like that season 1 Beverly, where her hair was completely different in every episode.
Her hair was so much better in season 1 than that. You're being too kind. I don't do a lot of Crusher, but I have. I still do that number. I actually did a show because I just, as the calendar gods would have it, we had a show scheduled on First Contact Day, so we did a First Contact show, but I did, like the First Contact version of Beverly Crusher, so I was more like a blonde in that, which I actually preferred. But I have another wig. It's that's, I think, a little bit more screen accurate, not as great as I'd like. Wigs are difficult, so
yeah.
But
well, your costumes are great. I mean, between your Beverly one and here, you can see pictured Janeway and Kira. They're very well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did not make any of them. I do know how to sew. I can put 2 things of fabric in a sewing machine, but creating a costume is a whole other thing, and that's just not my skill set. So I kind of have to like really scour the web for things that look similar. Also, like, like with cosplay and stuff and drag, it's so hard, like with Kira, for example, to get like a good lace front pixie wig. So, people are probably like, why is Janeway doing Kira?
Well, it's kind of like an exaggerated version of episode 1 Kira, right? She had the longer hair.
I suppose you want The Office. So yeah. I actually really love doing Kira. I'm doing Kira, not the show coming up this coming Saturday on the 26th, but the show after that, and I'm doing the one where we're doing this arc where she's carrying Miles's baby. So that is going to be interesting. I've never done anything like that. I had to like buy like a baby bump. So it'll be interesting.
You're going deep, so that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's we've got a little bit about you, but let's find out a little bit more about your Trekdom, as they say. So let's go to our favorite little trekking to know you. And this is where basically I ask you the same 10 questions I ask every guest. And, like I said, no wrong answers. And all it does is get us talking about Trek.
Okay.
All right. So first one's a little easy. What was your first contact with Star Trek?
I mean, definitely the original series. I always loved Captain Kirk. I actually really like William Shatner with like his portrayal. I mean, I don't know him personally, and I know that some people have problems with him, but I thought he did a great job being the inaugural captain. He was very dynamic. I love the way they wrote Kirk. I think Kirk was a very master strategist. You watch the original series, it's like, I feel like anything that they have done with like doing a sort of reboot with Kirk, I don't feel like they've ever really captured who Kirk is. It's like he's like this kind of fly by the seat of your pants womanizer, and I just don't think that was ever really Kirk. I think he was suave. I don't think he was like gumming up to women at a bar and be like, "Hey, baby, you want to come back to mine?" And I don't think he intended to ever be in situations that he didn't have a plan or control over. I think he was good at thinking on his feet, but I really that was my first thing, and I never really watched the Next Generation. Because I was really young. I mean, it came out in 1987. I was born in 83, so you can do the math on that. But when Voyager came out, that's when I really started paying attention a lot more.
That was your Trek, right?
Yeah.
I like to say, I've told listeners over and over again, but I was 10 when TNG premiered, so that was like, even though my dad had exposed me to TOS and especially the movies. So, all right. Well, what is your favorite Trek series then?
I mean, I do really. I've watched all of them, and I do like all of them. Okay. But obviously, Voyager is a personal favorite of mine, just because I just really, really loved Captain Janeway. I love the story. I felt like, when they talked about Star Trek, like, it was like this sort of wagon train to the stars, wagon train, kind of like this, Oregon Trail sort of adventure thing. I mean, like they didn't know what they were going to face and what was out there. Even with the TOS, I mean, they kind of felt like they were doing a patrol. They were doing some exploring. They stumbled across things, but it never felt like they were actually going out to explore in the storyline. But Voyager definitely was. And I just really love that. And I thought the Janeway, the more I watch it, I feel like in a way, if it was real, I feel like Janeway that would be a real person, real situations. Yeah. She was faced with a lot of different challenges. And I think I think Cisco, for example, had immense challenges too. Probably even harder than Janeway in some respects. But yeah, I love that show. I love the cast. Everything I feel like is done so well. I've been listening to the Delta Flyers.
Yep.
And I do have to say, Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wang, sometimes I feel like they're way too critical on themselves. I think the story really, really works, and the choices that were made really work. Their acting really works, and just the direction of where they took stuff. Sure, there's like always a hindsight is 2020. Maybe they could have done this, maybe they could have done that, but it works, and it's really well done. So
Yeah. I don't listen to that all the time. And that's one of the reasons I don't necessarily get too much into that podcast is we're our own worst critics. And,
yeah,
they're pretty hard on themselves. You're like, guys, just chill out. You were great. Obviously, people are listening to you guys talk about your show. If your listeners are fans.
I remember during the pandemic, there was the Actors Fund did a whole thing with the Voyager cast, and they were raising money for charity or whatever. And they announced Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wang that they were going to do this podcast and reveal the episodes. And Kate Mulgrew was on there. She goes, "Oh, why? Why would you watch what you've done before? God, no."
The biggest faux pas, right? Don't go back and critique yourself.
I mean, you gotta love that big, beautiful ego that Kate Mulgrew has. She's never watched anything she's ever done, and
that's so true. And one of the other shows that I watch over and over again is Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And Dame Maggie Smith, may she rest in peace, would say, "I've never watched an episode of that. I acted it, of course, and I know it because I did my lines, but I've never watched it." And that's kind of like, that's Kate up there too. I mean, I think of Dame Maggie Smith and Kate Mulgrew. They're up in that same level.
And I can see why that's necessary, because you have your thing and you don't want to psych yourself out. I mean, as a drag queen, like we used to record all of our shows, like the whole thing, and I'd like edit them and audio fix stuff, which just got too much, so we stopped doing it. But I do think it was helpful to me to watch myself and note, like, if I'm doing something really weird, so I can like kind of adjust and stuff. So that was helpful to me, but I can see why that would not be helpful to other folks, and it's hard to watch yourself and listen to yourself.
When I started podcasting, it was such a thing for me, especially when you had to go back and edit it. You're like, oh my God, I said that. Oh my God, I did that. I've learned so much since I've started, but I've also learned to be a little more kinder to myself too. Yeah,
exactly. Sometimes it's just having, like you said, having the fun with it. And so that's what I try to do. It's kind of like sometimes I do a show and I'm like, I don't know, something's happening and I just feel so ridiculous and stupid. So like I turn away, I'm going back to like the dressing room and I'm like, oh God, I feel like such an idiot. But the crowd does not know.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, all I want to do is talk queer Trek, right? You know what I mean? I want to talk about Star Trek and maybe have that queer slant every once in a while. But otherwise, I just want to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and this is the avenue to it.
Yeah.
All right. So Voyager is the favorite series. What is your favorite episode? And it doesn't have to be from Voyager. Your favorite Trek episode overall. Doesn't have to be from Voyager.
Oh my God, it's so hard to pick, but I will have to say there's so many. And it's not a Voyager episode. I'm gonna say that. Oh my God, I hope I'm not misremembering the name. Far Beyond the Stars, from Deep Space Nine.
Right. Benny Russell.
If people have not watched that episode, you like, I don't know where you've been. It is. I always am like really emotional when I watch it, especially at the end. I remember the DS9 documentary. They said that, Avery Brooks was directing that episode. And like at the end, he's like, feeling the emotions and like nobody's yelling cut. And Kira Nana was in the, if I remember this clearly, she's like, it was a little like scary, but like in a good way. But it was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? But the story is so good. And it has such a message. It's like really the best, I would say it's probably the best Star Trek episode ever made, frankly. at least in top 10.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I love that episode.
It's cool that you picked that episode. The more recent episode from Strange New Worlds, Ad Astra Per Aspera, is kind of. I watched that episode. I probably watched that episode more times than I should, but it really leaves me with those feels. Right? It like, this is what Star Trek's all about. It's got a message. It's it's making me think. It's making me want to be a better person. It's saying that we're all equal. And I get emotional when I watch that episode. It's like, this is how I want Star Trek to make me feel. And that's what I love about it.
We actually just at the show on the April 12th, we did that like episode arc. And I will have to say, I kind of disagree, and maybe because I'm old school, I don't know. It felt a little cringe. I don't know. I agree with what you're saying about the message of inclusivity and and things like that. I don't know. I just felt like, why the number one character? It felt, I don't know, it just felt weird. It felt like there was these parallels to racism or other sorts of disenfranchised persons, but it felt like number one is, as far as we know, is this cisgendered woman. And I don't know, it felt like they're grasping at something. I don't know. It felt like, why couldn't that be a different character? I don't know. Rather than number one, it felt like I really want to see number one be like more in her command. She's in terms of the Star Trek universe, the first woman that we've seen in the storyline that's like the number one. Not in the storyline, but I guess in the universe. And I kind of want to see more of her being in charge, being the first officer, being in command of the ship. And I just felt like that direction with that was, I don't know. I just felt like, did they need to do that? But I did it anyway, because I actually tried to turn it on its head a little bit, where she was like kind of like a drunken, boozy, cocaine addicted person in her past life. Because that's the drag part.
Drag's always going to take it up a couple of notches, right? Everything you said is valid. That's why I love to talk about this kind of stuff on this show. For me, I think it was more powerful that she was, cisgendered and normal and a person of command, who's literally hiding this whole other double life that she has to hide. And because of that, she has to hold back who she is almost her whole entire life. And now, because we've gone through the events of that episode, she's truly free to be herself and be 100% with her crew. And I like that idea that, like, sometimes, you don't know what the person next to you is going through. And I like to look at it through that lens. And like I said, there's no right or wrong there.
No, there isn't.
To your point, it's like, why Una?
I like what you said there, because, and I will have to admit, like, we've been the other episodes, the other series, we've had time to sit, watch, digest, watch them over and over again. These are so new. We haven't had that, at least for me. So I feel like sometimes my first take on something is going to sit one way, and then over time, when I watch it again, I'm going to feel differently. So, I do preface that.
And to be fair to you on that, remember, we've only had 20 episodes of Strange New Worlds.
I know.
And so there's more episodes in the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation than we've seen of Strange New Worlds. So
yeah, totally.
What we think we know about these people is not necessarily what we know about these people.
I think it's also like I like I remember when I first like doing these shows and stuff, we had so much Trek, like it was like something every single week.
Oh yeah.
And now we have like hardly anything, which is really kind of sad. And you know, it's obviously lots of different factors, but I think for the fandom and Trekdom, even though it might sit with you a different way, I think we should always be thankful that we have Trek. Because there was a time when we did not have anything.
Yes. Yeah. We're in a minor Trek drought at the moment.
We are.
But, you know, and yeah, Section 31 wasn't everything we wanted it to be. But, you know, here we are, you know.
Yeah.
And, I'll look, even for Section 31, I focus on Michelle Yeoh and Giorgio, and that I can get happy about that. Find something to like about it. And the score was amazing also from Section 31. So I'll find something to like about it.
I think that it was, I mean, like, I think sometimes we're just too critical. And I think that I like the movie. I think that I could definitely see the struggles of like, it was probably supposed to be a series, and then they had to condense it, and there was all that stuff, and it just, so I think if they do another movie, which I think they should, I think that we're gonna fall in love with it. I mean, it's like kind of like the motion picture. I mean, you know, I mean, that movie it's good, I guess, but it's a little slow, and, you know, it's a sign of the time, you know, and then we need to give things a chance. So,
and now it's like what you love to put on with a blankie and get up on the couch and just put it on and like bask in the 4 minutes of riding around, looking at that ship from the outside and be happy with it.
The Enterprise going to V'ger's anus.
That sounded like a Gaga song there. V'ger's anus.
Oh my God. Don't give her ideas.
V'ger's anus.
but I'm down for it because I need more drag content. You know, the other thing is like even with that movie, like I know we're on a tangent here, but you know, that was supposed to be Star Trek Phase 2. I mean, obviously probably we were going to call it that. And then they're like, fuck it, we're going to do a movie.
Because of Star Wars.
So I mean, like that even being made was like, you know, how wackadoo is that? Like it took forever to even just decide to do a movie. So it's amazing. Star Trek has had so many first chances, second chances, third chances, fourth chances. And I think it's because, like, I always feel like as a direct in this Star Trek stuff, I'm trying to spread the gospel of Trek. And I think it's because of the message and the vision of the future that's out there. That's why it keeps existing.
Yeah, so. And I feel like, you know, things ebb and flow, but in like these times that we're in right now, it's like you kind of want to put your arms around Star Trek and give it a big hug because it's kind of, you know, helping us all through these times.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always putting it on before I go to bed.
I think that's a thing for all of us.
Nothing soothes me more than Janeway yelling, "Red alert, do it, coffee, black," and then I just go to sleep.
That sounds perfect. I'm sure there's a YouTube video of that like on repeat too. Some Trekkies. Let's see. I'm gonna try and push us back along again because we're having just a good time here talking about whatever. Do you have a favorite movie of our? I guess we'll call it 14. We'll count Section 31 in there.
You know, I actually really, I don't know why. I mean, I really do like the Search for Spock. Because there's so many great moments in that movie. You know, they're stealing the Enterprise, and it's like, you know,
iconic.
Kirk's like, "Mr. Scott, the doors." And he's like, "Aye, sir, I'm working on it." And then they're like, and then they're about ready to, and they're like, "Collision alert." And like Sulu's eyes like light up. He's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, we're going to hit the fucking door.
Like Scotty just wants to say, no shit, Sherlock. I'm working on it. Damn it.
Yeah. And the moment, like when Kirk realizes that his son died and he like falls out of his chair and he's this emotional. We never see Kirk in that state ever. I don't think we need Kirk to run around crying all the time, because he has to be the captain. And but like, they do this sort of scene where they're like panning, they're cutting to every person on the bridge, and they're like have this look in their eyes of like sadness and like compassion for Kirk, but then also this look of like, we're gonna die, right?
Exactly. Like it couldn't, the situation couldn't be any worse. The Enterprise is dead in the water. Their leader is defeated and exasperated on the ground, and like you probably were like, we're gonna die.
Yeah. And like to have the Enterprise be destroyed, like that was a huge moment. And and Spock had died. And like so I think it covers a lot. It's a transitional movie. But I also really do. I love the Undiscovered Country. And I do like The Final Frontier. I think a lot of people feel like, I think I've heard from the fandom and stuff like, people don't really particularly like that movie. I think that movie had a lot of huge setbacks, which is nothing to do with William Shatner and his directorial sort of skills. So I think it was just really, really unfortunate. It did not pan out the way they really wanted it to. But I'm glad they gave it the second chance, because that was supposed to be their final movie. And then they're like, yeah, no, we can't end it like that. And they did another great movie. So
3 is a great movie. I've always liked it. It's holding up very well, and I also think that like with these 4K versions coming out, it's never looked better. I always personally had a rough patch with that movie with the recasting of Savick, because it's not that like Robin Curtis doesn't do a good job, and I love Robin Curtis as a person and as an actress, but for me, I fell in love with Kirstie Alley's Savick, and so there's that like I have to get over this recast, and but
it's really
not a bad movie.
It's really the one thing where they actually really did recast someone, and they've never really ever done that in Star Trek. And I did hear in a documentary that Kirstie Alley, because I heard a rumor like, oh, she just wanted more money and she was greedy, and they were like, recast her, but actually she said they offered her less money. Yeah. So, and that's why.
Yeah. That was the Center Seat was probably the last. It was a really great documentary series.
I watched that.
I love it. I bought it.
It's really good. Me too.
I bought it on iTunes or whatever, and I rewatched so many of them it's like, and for Kirstie Alley, it's probably going to be like the last time she was recorded ever talking Trek, because she's been gone for several years now.
She was really, really good in the role. And I think that Savick probably could have continued. I think that's probably why they ended up casting like a Valeris character. Probably would have been Savick continuing. And, there was the whole thing of like, I think Robin Curtis said like, she ended up being, her character was supposed to be like pregnant with Spock's baby.
Yeah. And well, and they just retconned that back in that little the thing they just did here from the Roddenberry Foundation. That 8-minute. Yeah, and Robin Curtis is in that, and Spock's son is in that. With Undiscovered Country, they wanted Kirstie Alley back as Savick, and
they did. Wow.
Yeah, and they couldn't get Kirstie because of filming conflicts. It wasn't like she didn't want to do it. They did not want Robin Curtis back, so they were going to bring in Kim Cattrall, and Kim Cattrall did not want to be the third person to play that role. So they created a new character that
I would
was
say
very Savick-like.
Kim Cattrall, like I don't know why she doesn't go and do the conventions and stuff, because I feel like, she's definitely over Sex in the City.
Yeah.
And just like that.
Yeah.
I don't blame her, but she was a phenomenal
Oh yeah.
actress and executed that role so well. I
There's
honestly wish they would have cast her in the beginning.
Yeah, there's going to be a Valeris action figure, and I'm here for it finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, with Kirstie Alley Savick, she was supposed to be half Romulan, half Vulcan, and that would totally give her that deviousness to do what happens in Star Trek 6, right?
Yeah.
That Romulan blood kicks in, and that totally just tracks, right? So that betrayal to Spock, it would just all just gel a little bit better. But not that Star Trek 6 isn't a phenomenal movie. It's probably the one, it's my top 2, top 3. All right. The next 2 questions, I think I know the answer, but what is your favorite character? Question 2 is your favorite captain.
Yeah. No, and both of those are Janeway. I find it's so interesting, like, with the original casting of Janeway. I know it was the French actress Genevieve, whatever her last name is. I don't remember how to pronounce it. But I remember seeing like some of the footage that they had released with her. She even seemed like there was this thing there, like she had a scene with Tim Russ as Tuvok in the ready room, and they're like yelled cut, and she's just like rolled her eyes. She's like, oh. She's like, God, this is so bad.
Yeah, and I and the commentary I've heard about is you just want to turn her up, right? Like, like I can't even hear you. You know what I mean? You're like, turn her up.
And, I remember, and in the Center Seat documentary, they're like, hey, like, can we, like get her to be more high energy? And the director's like, I know, I've been trying.
Like, and no shit.
And like I'll just say, like, that actress, she's good, like, right? I mean, like, she was not good at this role. They, Rick Berman said they did not screen test her. They didn't audition her because they didn't think that would be rude or whatever. And he was like, well, she's never done TV, so okay, do what you want to do, and then I'll come in and save the day, kind of thing, when it doesn't work out. Yeah. But I think with Kate, I read her book. Well, I didn't read her book. I bought the audio version because how could you not listen to that voice?
All grew and to you.
I don't, she talks about that audition and that she was kind of like sick and she kind of fudged it. She was like, I'm in love or something. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. I was like,
oh yeah.
Huh? And so she didn't get the role, and like, I guess I don't know if I'm remembering this clearly, but she like went on a vacation to Ireland, and her agent calls her and is like, well, that Star Trek show you auditioned for, like, there's been a development, they need a new lead and they want you to come back. And she's like, what? Like, I'm not coming back early for that. And but I don't know what happened. I'm sure her agent was like, honey, you got to make money. But coming back and realizing the importance, and I think so the reason why I love Janeway, just the way it's written, but also Kate Mulgrew, her portrayal, it's electric.
Yeah.
And she talks about how she felt so shot out of a cannon. I feel like I imagine she's like, she said there was a message on her answering machine. And her kids are like, oh, mom, and her housekeeper or nanny or whoever it was like, Miss Mulgrew, and this like Rick Berman with the message, like, welcome aboard, Captain. And it's like, see you at 4 a.m. on Monday. And she's probably like, it's fucking midnight and it's Sunday. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I think that Kate did everything so expertly. She was a single mother. She had this huge role, and her kids were very young. And to be able to do that, she said that she had other offers to do other things during that show's run, but she wanted to commit to Janeway, giving it 1,000%. I think she felt like all of womanhood was on her shoulders, and she took it so seriously, and did it so well. Like when you watch her, even when her character's not talking, she's still acting with the face, her body, and it's just this masterclass and still commanding every scene, even when she's not the focus. I really, really admire the character. I really admire Kate for her professionalism and her commitment, her acting, sort of chops. It really saved that show, and I could not imagine anybody else ever playing that role. And if they ever wanted to reboot Janeway, who can do it better than Kate?
Yeah, just don't.
Other than me.
Yeah. Well, you made my point. I was going to say it was like Kismet. I don't think anybody else could be Janeway. I just, she nailed it from Caretaker and all the way through to Endgame, and is now killing it in Prodigy. And let's keep our fingers crossed. I know there's been some chit chat that she's been having talks with Paramount and whatnot about potentially bringing back a live action Janeway. So, yeah.
Well, like with a Legacy or something.
Yeah. I mean, like if Legacy is a Janeway led operation, I'll take it.
I'll just say, I think that's one of the things that with Picard, I thought Picard was, I know I already answered this. I think Picard was really probably one of the best series ever made. And I do feel like they reference Janeway so much. Like I wanted at the end to have like I don't know, like a steaming pot of coffee in the ready room for 7 and a note from Janeway. There's something. I was like, my God, they've talked about her so much.
Well, that part at the end where Tuvok is giving the promotion to 7.
Yeah.
You can just tell that was written for Kate, and they just couldn't afford to put her in there.
Yeah.
That was
and I feel like also like, I would love to see a Deep Space Nine reboot.
Yep.
And I think in Janeway as well, I feel like it feels like it's very white male driven with these reboot things. And even with Prodigy, the one thing it feels like a little cringe to me, even though it's important, but it's like, okay, so she's like this, she's teaching the children what, because she's a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's so obvious. It just feels so predictable that I did not particularly enjoy that.
Well, Prodigy has some great themes to it, and it is, kind of cool that adults like it, but it is meant for kids, and
it is.
We always have to stop and remind ourselves of that. Like, hey, this was literally made for Nickelodeon, and it was made for kids to see first. And the fact that some adults like it and we're following it, that's great. Yeah. That's a bonus, but it was definitely meant for kids. And,
You're right.
Yeah, that's how I have to look at it. So I don't go where, you're that whole,
I will have to say,
stereotypical.
Can we talk about how hot Chakotay is? My God.
Animated Chakotay.
Yeah. I always thought Robert Beltran was sexy. I was disappointed in one of the episodes where you see his butt. That's actually, I looked it up because it's a body double. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, I always liked Chakotay. I always kind of had a little hot for him too, but I don't know. Robert Beltran's just so problematic now. It's kind of hard for me to kind of see between the two.
Oh, you're talking about like the tweet thing that happened?
Yeah,
Or is there more?
He's I mean, I don't know. I blocked him years ago. He's problematic, and we'll just,
I'll just say, I guess I just don't follow enough. But yeah, I mean, well, we need PR.
Yep. Well, yeah, exactly. All right. Well, you might have just sort of, I mean, how apropos. My next question is, who is your favorite Star Trek crush?
Well, okay, I do like Chakotay. Crush. Gosh, I have no idea. I'm thinking. I mean, there's been actually, with the new Treks like Discovery, I mean, my God. I mean, like, there's so many attractive men. I mean, Cleveland or Booker,
Yep.
and
David Ajala, yeah.
the Lieutenant Reese or Lieutenant I don't know what his rank is, and oh my God, so many of them. I mean, Wilson Cruz. I actually I've met Wilson Cruz like I guess a few times. I met him on the subway train a long time ago before he was in Star Trek, and he was very, very nice. And I always am like, My So-Called Life, and I love that movie he did. Have you ever seen Supernova?
No.
Oh my God, you have got to watch Supernova. It has James Spader in it, and oh gosh, I forget her name. She's not Alfre Woodard, but it'll come to me. But it's a really great movie. It's sci-fi. But yeah, they're really great. I saw Wilson at the Met art. It's not the Met Opera, but Metropolitan Art whatever museum. I'm gonna get all the hate mail from New York. But there was like an LGBT gala there. I've been to it twice, and Wilson was there, and I talked to him a little briefly. I think he thought I was crazy.
It happened.
He's really, really great. But yeah, I do have to say though, in the love story kind of thing, or like, I guess it's not really necessarily love, but
it's just who you crushing on.
Chakotay and Janeway, they have this deeper than love, deeper connection and respect for one another. It's almost like Picard and Guinan in a way. So I love that story in that arc, but very long-winded.
We'll do these next two kind of rapid fire. Just like first thing that comes to mind. What's your favorite starship?
Voyager.
Perfect. I kind of figured. And what's your favorite uniform?
I do love the DS9 Voyager jumpsuit.
Yep.
It's
very nice.
Feels very business-like.
Yeah, and I like to kind of make some variations. So like the way you have your jacket off, like Janeway would do, and some variations of them.
I should have worn my tank top. See, I have a comm badge and another comm badge.
You're ready for anything.
I am.
And you kind of touched on this one, believe it or not, a little while back, but I'll let you expound on it. But what does Star Trek mean to you?
Oh boy. Well, I always tell people, I think that regardless of what your persuasion is, I think Star Trek is queer. So whether you're straight or bi or gay or whatever, like, you're queer. It's chosen family. These people, we see these stories, like they all become this extended family and friends, and that is what queer is. And because we have to kind of choose our sort of extended and our chosen family as well, for many reasons, because maybe our family has rejected us, or maybe it's because we need maybe it's not that we don't love them or whatever, have a bad relation, but we need to have people that identify and understand us a little bit more. So I think that's what I love about Star Trek. That's what it means to me, is this chosen family, a thing that it's in a service of it's not for ourselves, it's for each other, it's for our community. It's for the larger purpose of like what comes after us. We're not self-driven to us now, today.
Yeah.
And what we need. It's about what it looks like in the future. I think even today, I think that's one of the biggest issues with our society and humanity. We are so, we have this tunnel vision. We don't think far enough ahead about what the consequences might be of our actions today.
Yeah.
And we don't, and it feels like it's all very, it's like sold to us about like, taking action and doing this and that, and like that's good. And it's not, because it's not thought out. And then when people don't take action, it's, like, I don't want to get too political, so I won't mention political players or whatever, but it feels like that is manipulated to be like, well, that's weak, but it's not.
No,
in my opinion,
it's the opposite, right? Yeah,
so.
I get it. Well said. Trek is a lot of things to a lot of people, but Trek is a lot deeper, and that's why it's so important. Like I said earlier, even right now. All right. So speaking of Trek, let's do a little bit of, I guess we'll call it the Trek news. Not as much as going on right now. Like we were saying, we're in the bits of our Trek drought.
Yeah.
But Strange New Worlds is coming back. Finally, season 3. Believe it or not, it's been almost 2 years since we've had a new episode of Strange New Worlds. By August, it will have been 2 years. And right now, the only thing we know about Strange New Worlds is that it's premiering on June 14th at the Tribeca Film Festival. Now, everyone is speculating that the Paramount Plus release will be, probably shortly thereafter, like hopefully in June.
Yeah. I will just say, I think Paramount is trying to kill me because I'm desperate for the release date so I can plan our show. Industry has been really interested in when this will happen. So I did like kind of say like that date that they're going to premiere it, the Tribeca Film Festival. I'm assuming it'll just be happening the Thursday after.
Yeah.
And then of course our show happens on Saturday. So hopefully that will happen. But
yeah. Paramount has done a pretty good job with the promo. I mean, they're ramping up promotion. Like we've got these character posters like we did for season 2, which they're all gorgeous. And, it's our crew, and they have these special effects, like starlight effects over their faces. And I saw so much chatter that the Pike one is foreshadowing of his forthcoming accident. And all I could say is like, bitch, every one of these characters has that same damn thing on their face. So knock it off. It's like everyone's looking for the hidden meaning. I'm like, stop it.
I love Carol Kane is a really great addition to the cast. And obviously I don't know the actor's name, but the person they cast to play Scotty, wow, really, really good. Love me some Ortegas, and Cecile Gooding. Am I pronouncing?
Celia Rose Gooding.
Yeah, Gooding. Yeah.
Uhura.
Yes.
Yeah. So the trailers also dropped, and if you're watching, you're looking a little bit of trailer here in the background. The trailer looks way too gimmicky to me. Like, and I hope they're only showing us like the best of 1 or 2 episodes, and trailers usually do that. And but it's like, the one thing I will say is like this show is becoming known as like, we're pulling all the punches and we're taking large swings, and they love to say that. And I loved in season 2 that we got the musical episode and we got the crossover with Lower Decks and whatnot. But like, there's a lot being shown in these episodes, like murder mystery. There looks to be a whole thing with like a Black Mirror, like a take on Black Mirror, which is a take on Star Trek. So, I mean, we don't need to get all meta on ourselves there. You know what I mean? Like, just give me strange new worlds, give me adventures, right?
I think they're definitely trying to do way different, totally different things that's never been done in Trek before. Looking at the trailer, and I think that's really good. I think that's going to pay off. And I mean, I also feel like I wish that they had more episodes.
It's rough that we only get 10. I mean, luckily, they're filming season 4 as we speak, so we won't have this extended break between seasons 3 and 4. So things will, and then we'll also have
the Academy
show, right? We'll probably see season 1 or season 3 of Strange New Worlds, and we'll have a little break.
And
then we'll get
Holly Hunter will be in it. I mean, I'm excited to see Holly Hunter. She's a fantastic actress. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Like, he's fantastic, and he's going to play the villain. Did you read about like when he got he was like crying.
Yeah.
He loves Star Trek so much. I think that's so cool that we're seeing these, like, I think Star Trek had this sort of secret sauce of like pulling actors that were, a little bit well known, but like not like the sort of mainstream. And now and they kind of like grew into that, and they become this huge celebrity.
Right.
And now it's like we're getting like these even bigger stars. Because Star Trek is cool.
Yeah, and they're throwing some money at Academy, so my fingers are crossed. And it's great that we're getting some fans, like you said, Paul Giamatti. Like Todd Stashwick was obviously a big Trek fan.
Yeah,
and it comes across in the performance, right? That they want to do it right and all the good things there. So are you a reader of the Star Trek novels at all? Whether it's reading or listening?
I am not. I think the last novels that I ever read was like Pathways about Janeway and Mosaic. And that was when I was like in high school.
Those are old school.
I haven't followed a lot of, I don't really have a lot of time to read. So, cause I'm just so busy with running the not-for-profit and doing the shows and all that and other bits of life. But yeah, no, I'm interested to hear about the books.
Yeah. Well, we have a new one coming for Strange New Worlds. The last one, coincidentally, was also a Strange New Worlds novel. And I think it's called Asylum. And that was basically, it's a direct sequel to Ad Astra per Aspera. And I really dug that because I liked the episode. This new one coming out actually just in the next few days, April 29th, is written by James Swallow. It's, like I said, a Strange New Worlds novel. The synopsis is, while patrolling the borders of the Klingon Empire, Captain Christopher Pike and the crew of the USS Enterprise record a series of subspace echoes from a planet orbiting a volatile flare sun. And when Lieutenant Spock and Commander Una Chin Riley lead a landing party to learn more, they discover the ruins of a dead civilization and evidence of a starship-grade materials, quite possibly a crash site. As they continue to investigate the strange signals, Spock and Una find shocking signs of dangerous alien life and remnants of what can only be considered Federation hardware. The trail soon leads Pike and Enterprise's helmswoman, Lieutenant Ortegas, deep into the mystery of a lost Starfleet vessel missing in action for over 90 years, and to a terrible dilemma that will challenge the crew to question their past and their future.
Oh, wow.
You know what? I'm excited about this because it's going to, I'm going to have this in a couple of days. It's like I'm on a business trip in Hawaii next week. So I will get my audiobook, and that'll be something that'll kind of keep me company as I'm getting around there doing work and doing my plane rides and all that fun stuff. But
so
yeah,
you are an avid reader of the Star Trek novels.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do the audiobooks mostly, but all
Yeah.
the new ones come out on audio, and they're all
Is
for
there
the
an
most
audio
part.
version of
Yep,
this?
yep. I've already.
Who's the narrator?
I don't know. Let me get on. I've already pre-ordered it on Audible. That's not a plug. I am not being paid for that plug.
Get your new audiobooks from
I
Audible.
should. I mean, here at BQN, we do not. Our podcasts are not sponsored, and we do not run commercials. So that is a benefit.
At BQN, we're sponsored by X2. I'm kidding.
I only wish. Let's see here.
But yeah, I'm curious.
It is read by Robert Petkoff, who actually reads a lot of the Star Trek novels.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I guess that they lost my number. I'm kidding. I probably wouldn't be very good at doing that.
I mean, I just read the synopsis, and I mean, full transparency. I've been drinking some wine here as we've been talking, but I do tend to get a little more tongue-tied after I've had a few drinks. But who doesn't?
Is there wine in that nebula?
I don't know. You know what? Life is perfect when I've got coffee and wine and a little water. When I've got all three in front of me, and I'm just it's the end of a meal. And that's how I'm finishing up. That's perfect.
Well, I always say Janeway never got that crew home sober. So
can you imagine with those personalities? I mean, she didn't really have a ship's counselor on board. So I mean, she had to deal with all that.
She's like, if you want to relieve me at command, you'll have to shoot me.
Yeah. I'm just going to give a little quick update here on Star Trek merch. There's been a lot going on. I recently got, I'll just pull this out here. I got my medical tricorder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. Is that the one is this the thing that they were advertising? It's like, this must be really, really expensive.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
Wow.
But, I need to charge it actually because it's only partially working.
So the screen is like a little LED screen.
Yeah, I mean it's like legit, and it usually makes all the noise, which means I need to plug it in and let it charge. It's a rechargeable. But Exo 6 just recently is out there. They are actually saying they are not shipping to the US anymore, or at least for now, because of the president's tariff policies, and that would basically double the price of these action figures. So there you go. I will say I literally under this, just in the nick of time, I got my Beverly Crusher just last week. So I can take a deep breath, and she's already on display next to Lieutenant Savick and on the shelf. So
I'm guessing you're a Beverly Crusher fan.
I mean, the podcast namesake is What's the Tea Bev? So I hope you got your Exo 6s for now. And I mean, if things don't resolve soon, I would imagine the value of these things is going to shoot up, and people are going to have their friends and overseas buying them and shipping them to them. And it's unfortunate because, they really do a good job with these. And,
I would say they look really, really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like the detail, the costumes, all that stuff. I mean, like even like the way that they've done the faces, they look really, really realistic. The picture you had before, like Boimler, for example, I was like, wow, I thought that was a picture of him.
Yeah, they go back to literally, they use samples from the real uniforms to go back and source the materials and try to make them exactly the same. And they do a good job with them. I resisted these for years. I think Janeway was one of the first ones they ever made. But when you started getting to like, okay, when they announced Kirstie Alley Savick, I was like, I can't not have that one. And then last year at STLV, they had Beverly on display. And I'm like, okay, I got to get that one. And
I love it. I used to have a lot of action figures, but I actually ended up donating them to Proudly Go because we sold a bunch of them at a flea market that we did for Broadway Cares. So I don't really have a lot of stuff. I still have some things, but I just figured, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have a place. I live in New York
Yeah.
City. There's hardly any space. They're just sitting in a box somewhere. So, and they were like all ate up from when I was a kid, like playing with them. So I'm glad that they served a purpose to somebody else that can appreciate them a little bit more.
Yeah.
These are beautiful.
I'm definitely getting to that point of like, if it's not something I can put on display, I don't buy it, because I'm like, I'm not getting any younger. And like, well, you can't take this shit with you when you die. So if you're not enjoying it actively and having it bring you some sort of a smile when you walk by it or something, then you're like, why do I own it? Because if it's sitting in a box collecting value, I mean, I don't know.
Well, then you just have to sell it, but you know what? It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like these. These are really, really well done. And I can't wait till you get more.
Yeah. Our last topic tonight, and it's something I really kind of snuck right up on us. I felt like when it was announced, it was a long time ago, but like it's here. Universal FanFest Nights actually start tomorrow, April 25th, and run through May 18th. It's mostly a weekend thing, but they're going to have experiences based on different fandoms, and of course, one of them is Star Trek, and it's really cool. Like, they've gone ahead and acquired the set of the Enterprise D that was built for Picard season 3. And that is part of the experience, not the only part of the experience, but just a part of it. So you'll be able to go be on the bridge. Just reminds me very much of Star Trek: The Experience back in Las Vegas.
Did you ever go to that?
I got to go 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, like 2003, somewhere in the middle, and then early in 98, early in 2008, and then it closed. Yeah. It happened to close a few months later, so I was happy to go. But that was, even back then, that was really well done. You felt like you were in Star Trek. You were on the Enterprise D. This is really cool. David Blass fought to save that set from being destroyed when they were wrapping on season 3 of Picard. And look, it's already found another life. There's also
say with Paramount, I don't understand why they ever score sets. And I feel like they should put them in a building somewhere, like there's Paramount's Kings Island. There's of course this, and just have a thing where they have all these sets that can be toured and viewed and experienced. And then if they ever need them for something, they just ship them back to where the studio is and use them for filming, so they don't have to recreate this stuff all over and over again. And it can make them money.
Well, precisely, right?
Yeah.
They've got definitely some engineering sets there. They've got the engineering table for from the Enterprise D. So I think it's mostly Enterprise D based, the experience, but it's going to be really cool. And there's going to be a lot of Star Trek themed drinks and food to go along with it. I think there's even, I even heard there were vegan options, or so I'm like, that's me. So I'm kind of thrilled about that. And listeners, I think I'm the first one to break this news. On May 10th, it's going to be BQN night at Universal FanFest. I can tell you for sure that Amy Nelson and myself will be there, and we would love it if listeners of the network would, kind of join us that night if you can, and really do a little bit of a BQN meetup. So more information on that, if you're in the BQN Discord, especially, or the BQN pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Jeez. So cool stuff, huh?
Definitely. I wish I could go. Hopefully they won't end it before I can actually go.
Well, I mean, I would hope like it's going to be like one of those things that like they'll either save it, they'll move it elsewhere. Maybe it'll go to Orlando next. You never know.
Yeah.
Like it'll be one of those things, especially if it's successful, which that's
Yeah.
always part of it, right? So
we're always so starved for Trek and all these things. So I'm there with you. I hope that it is successful and people go and see it and it is around for a long time.
So, well, Heather, it's been great having you as a guest today. It's been amazing to get to know you. And although this is going to be probably slightly longer than normal episode, it's only because we've had this amazing discussion.
It's been great. I have absolutely loved talking with you and chatting about Star Trek and getting off beat, on beat, all that stuff. So it's always fun to talk about Trek. So, and thank you for what you're doing with this podcast, because we need things like this. And I love the way this has been organized and the segments and things that you're doing. It's very, very entertaining. And I'm just really, really honored and happy to have been a part of this. So thank you so, so much, Christos.
Oh, thank you. You've been a great guest. We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at What's the Tea Bev, or leave a comment on YouTube if you are watching this episode online. So, Heather, where can people find you?
Well, you can find To Proudly Go at To Proudly Go with really anywhere there's social media, because we're on a multitude of things, including Blue Sky and all the other standard stuff out there, TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, things like that. And then me personally, you can find me. One of my handles is The Heather Wood. That's most of them. On Facebook, it's I Am Heather Wood. And if you're in New York City and you're visiting or you live here, please come and check us out. Check me out at Industry Bar. It's on 52nd Street between 8th and 9th Avenue, 6 p.m. Saturdays. We have a wonderful, wonderful Trek-tastic show with me and other special guests. So it's always a great time. Check out the website of To Proudly Go, because sometimes we are off, but that's essentially where you can find us and me.
Awesome. At this time, we would love to thank our associate producers, Jason Anderson and Matt Harker. As I was saying earlier, here on BQN, you will never hear a commercial on one of our shows. And if you'd like to help us keep our shows coming to you each and every week, commercial free, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join our Let's Fly reaction show, script readings, and other perks. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages. Well, thank you for listening. We hope you'll join us next time for more tea on What's the Tea Bev? Live long and prosper.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristen. Whether you've got Xbox or Nintendo, check out Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey and Mitch, self-proclaimed gamers who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. Grab your popcorn as you listen to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark and Matt. Don your apron for The Food Replicator, where Matthew eats and drinks his way through Star Trek Cocktail and 3 cookbooks. Beam Aboard Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Steven. In order to not repeat it, listen to History with the Zalagis, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissy and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissy and Thad. Curl up with a good book and delve into beta canon with Peter, host of the Trek Book Club on Twitter and Blue Sky, and his companion Trek Book Club podcast. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey and MC. If you're a member of Starfleet Federation or Planetary Union, go check out Union Federation, covering current Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Head over to YouTube and watch The View Screen live on Sundays, your Trek-inspired talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy with new 8-week seasons in the spring and fall. Spill the tea with Christos while he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with an LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea Bev. And for our patron members, we have the Hive Mind with script readings and roundtable discussion, It's Green, a cornucopia of topics, then Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek. You can keep up with all of these shows by following the network at BQN Podcasts on Instagram and Blue Sky. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.